Welcome to my studio. I'm Brent Hale. Today I'm going to teach you everything you could ever possibly want to know or learn about Procreate layers. Well, almost. So we're going to start with how to create a layer, how to organize a layer, and masking. We will look at blending modes. We're going to look at some of the hidden features. So buckle up and get ready to layer. Here we go. Okay, let's open a new document and we're going to insert some artwork and select our rocket boy. Pop him in there. Okay, there he is. Now go into the layers, click on it, and we're going to rename it, and we're going to call this guy Rocket Boy. Now we're going to create a new layer, and this one we're going to call it Head. Now grab a brush. I like the syrup brush, it's kind of fun. And then we will change the color, pick a flesh tone, and then start painting in the Rocket Boy. So you'll notice that the head layer is above the Rocket Boy layer. And that means that when you paint, you will actually be painting on top of the Rocket Boy line art layer. I like to think of it like a sandwich. First you got your bread, then your meat, then your cheese, then comes your lettuce, your tomato, your mustard, and your bread. So you can see that I'm painting above the black line art, but I'm actually on a layer above it, so I can turn it on and off. If I tap and hold the head layer, try it again, tap and hold, it highlights it and I can move it down below the Rocket Boy line art layer. So now when I paint, I'm actually painting under the black line art. Oh, this is fascinating. If you click on the head layer and then select Alpha Lock, and you'll see this checkered background behind the icon, that means that the alpha is locked and you will be able to paint with a different color on that layer, and you can stay within the lines without even having to try. Or you can just drag a color into it and it'll color the whole thing. Okay, let's undo that, 2-finger tap. Let's see what happens if we turn Alpha Lock off. We turn it off. And if we paint, you can see I'm going out of the lines. And if you drag color into it, oh, wait, what? Oh, if you drag color into it, it still goes in because it's all just one color. So, anywho, if you wanted to delete everything on a layer, just click on the layer and then hit clear. It will delete everything on that layer. Is that clear? Are we there yet? I renamed Rocket Boy layer line art, and if you click on line art and then select reference, it will turn that layer into a reference layer. Now this is a really cool feature that will make life really easy. So select head layer and you'll see that line art has reference under it. Pick a color and then just drag it into that area. And it selects it. So if we turn off line art, we can see that it actually used the artwork on line art layer as a mask.
Pretty darn cool.
Okay, now you can just start creating layers, giving them names, organizing, dragging around, and then filling those layers with colors. And before you know it, you're going to have it all looking good. I will say that it leaves a little white line, and I think that has to do with the fact that this is really kind of a low resolution image. You can always go back and touch that up. Okay, now let's change the background color. Click on the background layer and then go into the color palette and choose which color you want. And then there you go. Absolutely fascinating. Okay, let's talk about the blend modes. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to move it down below, and I'm going to call this one Squiggle. Now I'm going to pick a color that we can actually see, something bright like a purple. Then I'm going to take my syrup brush again, and then on that layer I will make a shape that looks something like this. Whoa, you're good. Make it a little bit bigger so that I can give it a little more ooh la la. And then I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to call it Squiggle 2. And then we'll pick a bright green so it'll show up. And we create this little layer right there. Okay, so now we have 2 squiggles. Now I'm going to create a test layer to show you how the blend modes work. So this layer, we're going to put a white square, create a square, fill it with white, and then I'm going to select a gray and draw this shape right here in gray. Then I'll select a black and do this right there, just like that. Now let me show you what these things do. First of all, I'm going to move this to the very tippity top. So it's like paper now on top. You can't see through it. It's just like paper. But if you click on the blend mode, you can reduce or increase the opacity. And then you can select one of these blend modes, and each one of these modes does different things. Multiply makes the white areas transparent, and the gray areas and the black areas are more opaque. Gray is less opaque than black. But then it will blend with whatever color is underneath it. So if you have a red and then you have the gray on top, it's going to blend with it and actually add some of the gray to it. And then all the different blend layers, they all do different things. So you just have to kind of play with the different blend modes and see if it gives you the effect that you're looking for. Now for a bonus pro tip. Let's say that we want to put shadows over top of the color. I'll show you a quick way to do that. First, we're going to group all of the Rocket Boy layers. Select one of the layers. We're going to click and hold and then drag it on top of the one above it until it highlights it. Then let go and it will create a group. So let's rename it Color. We can click, hold, and drag all the other pieces and parts of Rocket Boy into that color group. Okay, now slide left and then hit duplicate, and it will create a duplicate of Rocket Boy. And you can see you can move it around. Lovely. Now click on it again, and we are going to flatten that group into one piece, not multiple pieces. So close that up, click on the layer, and say flatten. Now we have one layer for Rocket Boy. You can still move him around. And then we have the other one that has the layers. Okay, here's another side pro tip. We'll undo that so that now that we have the layers and that duplicate, we can see them all in there. Another way we can flatten it is to actually pinch all of those layers together. If we go pinch, it'll flatten them into one layer. That's a pretty sweet deal. Hit Alpha Lock, pick a white, and on that flattened Rocket Boy layer, say fill layer, and it will fill it with white. Now let's pick a light gray from our color picker. Then on the shadow layer, set the blend mode to multiply. Then in our brushes, pick the airbrush, and with the light gray, start painting in the shadows, adding some dimension to our little Rocket Boy. See there? Easy peasy. Pro tip. So now we're going to look at masks. When you hit mask on a layer, it connects a mask to the layer that you had selected. When you paint on a layer mask with a grayscale, it will mask out the layer that it's connected to beneath. So if you use a white, then it won't mask it at all. If you use a gray, it'll mask it out some. If you use black, it will mask it out completely. If you choose a color, it will convert it to a grayscale. Hey look, you just got a subscriber. Okay, let's look at clipping mask. On the Squiggle 2 layer, click clipping mask, and it puts a little bent arrow right there pointing down to the squiggle below it, meaning that squiggle below is going to be the shape that will mask out Squiggle 2. So if we turn off the background and all the other layers, we can see it a little bit better. The purple is actually masking out the rainbow squiggle. So turn clipping mask off, you'll see that the layer is still there, but if we click on it and then turn it back on, clipping mask, again, it is being masked out by the layer beneath it. So whatever the shape is of the layer beneath, that is the shape that it will be masked. Okay, let's look at invert. So on Squiggle 2, if we turn it green and then we click onto it, hit invert, it's going to turn it into the exact opposite of that color on the color wheel. So if the green is over here, then the exact opposite will be the magenta. Okay, now we're going to see what merge does. So if we click on Squiggle 2 and hit merge down, it's going to merge with the layer below it. And so now it's just one layer instead of two. It's a flattened layer. So if I click on a layer and I say combine down, it groups it with the one below it. So it's just like when we clicked and drug and held over top of another layer. It's just a different way of doing it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. That's everything you ever needed to know about layers in Procreate, but were afraid to ask. If you like what you saw, please leave me a comment below, or if you have any suggestions of things that you would like me to cover, please let me know. We'll be covering things like Photoshop, Illustrator, Corel Painter, SketchUp, a whole bunch of stuff. So thanks again, and catch you on the flip side.
Thanks for watching. Oh.